In this video, we're doing another example of division of rational expressions, and in this particular problem, we've been given two polynomials. We're dividing one by the other. So the first is 2 plus 5x minus 2x squared plus 5x cubed. We're dividing that by quantity -4 plus x. So this is a rational expression because it's a ratio of two polynomials. A rational function is a ratio of two polynomials. We could also write this in a fraction form where this first polynomial here is the numerator, the second polynomial is the denominator. But either way, whether it's written in a fraction or it's written this way, we're going to end up doing long division with polynomials here. So we take the divisor here, -4 plus x, and we want to write it in descending order of exponents on the variables, with our whole numbers coming last. So we're going to change -4 plus x, we're going to flip it around, we're going to put this positive x in front and the -4 after it. So we're going to say positive x minus 4, that's going to be our divisor, and then our dividend here, we want to do the same thing. We want to put our exponents in descending order. So we're going to start with 5x cubed and say 5x cubed. Then we want -2x squared. Then we want x to the first power, which is positive 5x. And then we want the whole number, which is a positive 2. Now keep in mind here that there's no gaps in our variables. All of our variables are accounted for in the sense that we have the whole number and then x to the first, x squared, x cubed. Sometimes you'll be given a polynomial where maybe this x squared term will be missing. You'll just have 5x cubed plus 5x plus 2. There's no x squared term, so there's like a gap between x cubed and x to the first. In that case, you need to fill in for the x squared term and you just put plus 0x squared here and then go about your division. So if there's any gaps, you want to fill in with 0 terms, but in this case, we don't have any. So the way we're going to do this always is look at the first term in the divisor, which is x, and see what we have to multiply by x to get the first term in the dividend. So in other words, what do we have to multiply by x in order to get 5x cubed? Well, we know we're at least going to need to multiply by 5 to get the 5 here. What do we have to multiply by x to get x cubed? Well, that would be x squared. So we generate this term here, and then we take the term that we found and multiply through the entire divisor. So we're going to multiply 5x squared by x minus 4. So 5x squared times x should give us the first term in our dividend here, 5x cubed. Then we're going to say 5x squared times a -4 is a -20x squared. Now, if you've done this correctly, of course, when you subtract this second line here from the first line, you should get 5x cubed minus 5x cubed. This will be a 0 here. That's what we're trying to do, is cancel this first term. So we want to get a 0 here. So when we subtract this second line here, what we need to realize is that subtraction is going to change the sign on each of these terms. So when we subtract 5x cubed minus 20x, we're going to get a -5x squared and a positive 20x squared. So what you want to do every time when you're doing long division of polynomials is just change the sign on each term in this second row here, and then add straight down. So change the sign and then add. That's always the process. So we change the sign, now we're adding. 5x cubed plus a -5x cubed is going to give us a 0. Those two will cancel. -2x squared plus 20x squared is going to give us a positive 18x squared. And now we bring down our next term, which is going to be a positive 5x. Now we look at our first terms again, our first term of x and our first term of 18x squared. What do we have to multiply by x to get 18x squared? Well, that's going to be positive 18x. Now we're going to take positive 18x and multiply it by x minus 4. So 18x times x gives us 18x squared. 18x times a -4 gives us a -72x. Now we're going to change the signs and add. So change the sign from a positive to a negative, change the sign from a negative to a positive, and then add. 18x squared plus a -18x squared is 0. Those terms cancel. Positive 5x plus 72x is going to give me a positive 77x. Now I'm going to bring down my positive 2, my next term, positive 2, and I look at my first terms again, x and 77x. What do I have to multiply by x to get 77x? Well, that's just 77. So I put my plus 77 up here. 77 times x gives me 77x. 77 times a -4 gives me a -308. Then I want to change the signs and add. So change the sign from a positive to a negative, change the sign from a negative to a positive, and add. 77x plus a negative 77x will give me a 0. Those two cancel. Positive 2 plus positive 308 gives me 310. So because I don't have anything else to bring down here, 310 will be my remainder. And I want to say plus 310, I always have to take my remainder and divide it by my divisor. So 310 over x minus 4. If you do your last addition here and you get 0 as the remainder, you don't have to list the remainder as 0 over the divisor because of course you just have 0 over x minus 4, which would be 0. You'd get plus 0 for this whole thing, and that would just disappear. So you never have to list a 0 remainder. But if you have a non-zero remainder, then you have to list it over the divisor, in this case x minus 4. And then our final answer is just everything we found, including the remainder.